In the quiet streets of Daegu, South Korea, there once lived a boy named Min Yoon-gi. He wasn't born into luxury, nor was he destined for greatness, at least not in the eyes of those around him. But Yoon-gi had something most others didn't, a dream that burned so fiercely inside him that it would one day change the world. Today, the world knows him as SUGA, one of the most successful rappers, producers, and members of the global sensation BTS. But the road to where he is now was long, filled with battles he fought quietly, shadows that tried to consume him, and a longing for love that only music seemed to understand. Yoon-gi grew up in a modest household. His family didn't have much, but they provided what they could enough to get by. His parents, though loving, were not always supportive of his passion. Music, to them, was a risky and unreliable path. His father wanted him to follow a more conventional route, perhaps become a civil servant or work in an office, something stable. But Yoon-gi's heart was already lost to beats, rhythms, and lyrics that whispered to him late at night. He was just a young teenager when he first encountered hip-hop. The rawness of the music spoke to him in ways that nothing else ever had. He began writing his own raps, producing tracks in secret, and pouring every bit of himself into the beats he crafted. But being a young boy with big dreams in Daegu wasn't easy. There was no roadmap for a kid like him to become a world-renowned artist, no guarantees that all his hard work would pay off. Still, Yoon-gi refused to give up. Despite the obstacles, he found himself drawn deeper into the underground hip-hop scene. He started performing under the name Gloss, using the little money he earned from odd jobs to buy equipment and studio time. It was here, in the gritty corners of the music world, where he honed his craft, learning to produce, write, and rap like his idols. But with every step forward, Yoon-gi faced the disapproval of his family. There were fights, tears, and moments where it seemed like his dream would remain just that, a dream. In 2010, a life-altering opportunity came knocking. Bigot Entertainment, then a small, struggling label, was holding auditions. Yoon-gi was hesitant. He wasn't sure if he fit the mold of an idol. He was a rapper, not a polished, pretty boy. But something inside him pushed him to go for it. Maybe it was desperation, or maybe it was the undeniable pull of fate. He auditioned and was accepted, not just for his rapping skills, but for his raw talent as a producer. It was the first time someone other than himself had truly believed in his potential. Yoon-gi moved to Seoul, joining a group of other trainees who would later become his brothers RM, Jin, J-Hope, Hyun, V, and Jungkook. Together, they would form BTS, though back then, no one knew the storm they were about to unleash on the world. As a trainee, Yoon-gi faced endless challenges. The rigorous schedules, the physical demands, and the constant pressure to be perfect weighed heavily on him. He often questioned if he was good enough or if the sacrifices he had made would be worth it, but there was no turning back. He poured every ounce of his being into BTS, helping craft their sound, writing lyrics that were deeply personal, and producing tracks that resonated with a growing fan base. When BTS debuted in 2013 with No More Dream, it was clear they were different from other groups. Their music wasn't just about catchy tunes or flashy performances. It had substance, it had soul. And at the heart of that sound was SUGA, whose lyrics often touched on his own experiences with pain, fear, and the battle for self-worth. As BTS began to rise, so did the pressures. The world saw a group of 7 boys conquering charts, breaking records, and amassing millions of fans worldwide. But what the world didn't see was the toll it took on them, especially SUGA. Behind the scenes, he battled crippling anxiety and depression. The weight of his past, the expectations of his present, and the uncertainty of his future all pressed down on him. SUGA has always been open about his mental health struggles, something rare in the K-pop industry. He spoke candidly about his experience with therapy, his feelings of inadequacy, and the fear that haunted him daily. "I always thought I was a little different," he once admitted. that I had something broken inside me, but instead of hiding his pain, he channeled it into his music. Songs like The Last and So Far Away from his August D mixtape were confessions, raw, unfiltered expressions of his inner demons. But fame brought more than just internal struggles. There were scandals and controversies that threatened to tear BTS apart. Accusations of plagiarism, cultural appropriation, and the endless scrutiny from the media followed them wherever they went. For SUGA, who was already dealing with so much, these added pressures sometimes felt unbearable. Yet, through it all, he remained resilient, standing by his members and his music. When it comes to love, SUGA's life has always been something of a mystery. Unlike many idols, he has been incredibly private about his romantic relationships, if any existed at all. His focus has always been on his music and his love for RMY. The fandom that has supported him through everything is well documented. He often refers to them as his source of strength, the reason he continues to push forward even on his darkest days. But despite the love he receives from millions around the world, there's a certain loneliness that lingers in SUGA's heart. Fame can be isolating, and for someone as introspective and private as SUGA, it's even more so. He once said, "Even if you have a lot of money and fame, it doesn't mean you're happy." Those close to him describe him as a deeply thoughtful and kind person, but also as someone who carries the weight of the world on his shoulders. Despite being a millionaire many times over, SUGA isn't one to flaunt his wealth. He lives comfortably, of course, but not extravagantly. He's more interested in creating music than buying material possessions. His studio, which he affectionately calls Genius Lab, is his sanctuary, a place where he can escape the noise of the outside world and focus on what truly matters to him. He does indulge in certain luxuries, though high-end audio equipment, rare vinyl records, and the occasional designer outfit. But for SUGA, these aren't symbols of wealth, they're tools and expressions of his artistry. His real treasures are his experiences, the moments he shares with his BTS brothers, and the music he continues to create. Today, SUGA stands as one of the most respected figures in the global music industry. He has produced for some of the biggest names in K-pop and beyond, collaborated with international artists, and continues to push the boundaries of what it means to be a musician in the modern age. But more than that, SUGA's story is one of resilience and hope. From the streets of Daegu to the biggest stages in the world, he never gave up on his dream even when the world told him it was impossible. And through his music, he's helped millions of others believe in their own dreams too. Despite the fame, the money, and the success, SUGA remains, at his core, that same boy from Daegu who fell in love with hip-hop. He's still chasing that perfect beat, still writing lyrics that speak to the soul, and still fighting both for himself and for those who see themselves in his story. And as long as there's music left in him, SUGA will continue to do what he does best, turn his pain, his joy, and his life into something beautiful, something real.